have a son, Jack, who was diagnosed with Niemann-Pick B. When Jack was about 3 years old, he had double pneumonia, and he was hospitalized for that. And then after that, he kept getting repeated respiratory infections, and they were difficult to clear. Initially, when I took him to the pediatrician, they told me to go to a pulmonologist to rule out asthma. When you go to see a pulmonologist, they do a lot of different rule-outs. So they wanted to see, number one, was he suffering from something else other than asthma? So he had to go through a series of those tests. I had taken him to the pediatrician when we first moved from New Jersey, and I asked them to look at Jack because he had bruising all up and down his leg very badly. Just very bad bruising. It didn't look normal. And I also asked the doctor when he was looking at the bruising if they could feel his spleen to see if it was a little bit enlarged still. And the doctor told us, yes, his spleen was enlarged, and he was going to run some tests. So at that point, we were looking at potential diagnosis of leukemia because of the enlarged spleen and the bruising, or a blood disorder. I knew I was a carrier of Niemann-Pick A, and I had read about type B patients, but the way it was written on the internet, he would have been extremely distended. But it was still in the back of my mind, so I remember asking the hematologist oncologist, I said, is it possible that he could have Niemann-Pick B? And she said, oh no, their spleens are down to here, because they just know from the textbook. The pulmonologist had this in the back of his mind when he was running all these tests. So now he's looking at interstitial lung markings, enlarged spleen, high cholesterol. And so that's when he started suspecting it was a metabolic disorder. And then he had my husband and I come in and run genetic tests on both of us. And it turns out that my husband carried a B mutation. And that's what it was. How I've coped with the disease is to become very involved with the Niemann-Pick community. So when you meet other people and you see other people functioning with the disease and persevering and being resilient, it gives you hope for your child that they can live a full, productive life. I think that physicians need to be more educated about these storage disorders and metabolic disorders, because I think a lot of these more rare diseases get overlooked, that doctors maybe have just seen it in a textbook in medical school and never seen it again. And I think, if we reach out to the physicians and talk about symptoms, they'll piece them together a lot more quickly. And that way parents don't have to linger and not know what the diagnosis is, because it becomes scary and exhausting. From his initial symptoms to when he was actually diagnosed with Niemann-Pick disease, it took about 2 years. It's a long journey. That's all I can say. It's a long journey. It's a long, hard journey.